Hi, welcome back to the Rugged Angel podcast. I'm your host, Camila. I want to thank everyone that has shown so much support after just one episode. You guys are awesome, and that is just one of the things that makes me want to keep doing this. Now, this is episode 2, and today's Rugged Angel is Liana Maneese. Liana is a very driven and passionate young woman who hates working for others, and she wants to change the world. But you will learn more about all of that during our very captivating conversation. And if you know any rugged angels that I should get on the show, or if you yourself are one, please feel free to send me an email to ruggedangel@gmail.com. Now, since this show is still new, this is just episode 2, I'm still trying out some stuff. And I was thinking about starting off each episode with a quote. And today's quote is, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." Rumi. Now let's do this. All right. Liana, welcome to the Rugged Angel podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I know you have a lot of stuff going on, and you've had a very hectic day so far. And hopefully we'll be able to put all that behind us and then just sit down and talk for an hour. And I want to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because we have known each other for quite some time. I think we met at the Shadow Lounge, essentially, or like through Art D. Some kind of way, shape, or form. We're in that mix.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now would be a great time for us to get to know each other, or for me to get to know you. These are all questions about you.
Okay. I'm ready.
Well, first, we'll start at the beginning, and I know you were born in Brazil.
I was, yeah.
Now, tell me how you came to be here in Pittsburgh.
I came to be here in Pittsburgh because my mom and dad are both from the area. My mom's from Johnstown. My father is from East Liberty's family. And they were just very incredible people who just wanted to travel and learn. And my mom graduated from college, and then she went into the Peace Corps. It's a very long time ago. It's probably like, I think it was the 60s sometime. And she went to the Peace Corps in Goiânia in Brazil, and then lived there and did work there for a long time. And then when she came back to Pittsburgh, many years later, ended up meeting my father. They worked a night shift at Auberly, which is like have you heard of it?
No.
It's like a school for boys, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know if any of this is true now. I know it still exists, but I don't know if they serve a different population. But at the time, my understanding was that they were like a boys' school for young men who were in a little bit of trouble, I suppose.
Okay.
And
right.
They worked the night shift and met and married in 3 months. They'll be married for 43 or 44 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless them. That's great.
Yeah. And but that's them. But then they got me. But my mother, after they were married for like a good 12 or 15 years. And they were like, yeah, I guess we should think about children. And my mom was just like very serious about adopting from Brazil. And she had some really incredible experiences there. And worked with women specifically, helping them, women who were living in pretty severe poverty, to be able to learn the basics of taking care of a child in those kinds of situations. So how do you clean your water,
Gotcha.
all of those kinds of things. And so she was very close to the women and what they were going through in terms of raising children in these situations, and decided to adopt. And she later, 2 years later, adopted my little sister,
Okay.
Kayla, as well from there. She's not my biological sister, but she's from the same area.
Nice.
And here we are.
And you've been in Pittsburgh ever since?
Ever since. Well, I moved away for college in the end of 2003, early 2004, and lived in Los Angeles for up until about 5 years ago.
Oh, really? How did you like Los Angeles?
I mean, everything they say is true, I guess. It was, in a lot of ways, really great because there were people that looked like me, a little more like me. And the culture was fantastic. It was very hard to live in Los Angeles. You're working like crazy. Obviously, the cost of living is very high.
It's just hard to live because you're working so much in order to live.
Yeah, and then you can't, you don't have any time to go on vacation or do other things. So it
Right.
was just like when I did, I would just come home.
Yeah.
So it was tough, it's different, very different than Pittsburgh, because in Pittsburgh it's very easy to make friends. Not even that it's easy to make friends; it's just people have. I think people here are just so much more family oriented and a little bit, generally speaking, and a little bit more thoughtful. And it was very. I'm still friends with everybody I was friends with growing up for the most part.
Yeah.
And I was told that you won't make any friends for at least 5 years.
Oh.
And it was funny because I really didn't. I met one of my greatest friends in the entire world, Ashley Bullock, who's I think her grandmother's actually from Pittsburgh, which was funny. But she grew up in Los Angeles, and then I dated a boy who was from Los Angeles, and made another friend named Sarah, and another friend named Nikki, and that was kind of about it.
Huh.
The whole time I was there.
Really?
And they were all fantastic friends, and we're still in touch, but it was weird.
Not like your.
Not like here.
the
I'm like,
family
that's how it happens in a day here. You know, you
Right,
go out with
yeah.
some friends, you meet a couple of people, and you're in. You know, here you're in. It's there's just a whole nother level of care, I think, for people, and it's very hard to meet those people in a city that's made up of transient people.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because the people who I did make friends with the exception of one, were from LA versus like people who were just visiting
Interesting.
or just passing through. Yeah, and and I met two of them actually through school. I went to the Fashion Institute there,
Oh, did you?
and so that's how I originally met two.
So you have like this fashionista
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
blood going through you.
I don't know anymore. I definitely, my best friend in the whole entire world, Liza Shields, she's getting married in a couple of weeks in New Orleans, and she is definitely a fashionista, and she's a designer, and she does a lot of pattern making, and she's just extraordinarily intelligent and creative and talented. And she and I were attached at the hip when we were young, and she was going to go to school there for design. And she pretty much was like, well, you have to come, and this is the program you should take. And I was like, okay, you know. I remember going home, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I want to go to school here. And my parents were like kind of heartbroken. I think they were
Yeah.
like, why do you want to go all the way to California?
Yeah.
Like, is this even what you want to do? I mean, what is going on? And I don't think I really knew. I think once I make up my mind, I make up my mind.
Yeah.
But it worked out, and it was an experience that I think was absolutely necessary for me to have in my life. But it was.
But you definitely don't regret the time there.
I don't
You
regret
learned a
it
lot.
at all. But it was. I don't regret it for many reasons, but it was. It was very different. It was very different.
At the very least, you learned that's not what you want to do.
Yeah, well, definitely, like, that's something that I didn't want to be in that industry. And I worked in it for a very long time, and there were parts of it I loved. I love being creative and making things beautiful. I love that. But that's like a very small piece of the whole industry,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's, and I think a lot of people that do that kind of work, your creativity becomes, kind of a small piece, and everything else is bureaucracy and,
Oh, yeah.
and who's who, and it can be really,
Yeah. Who do you know?
Tough.
Who
Yeah.
don't you know? Like who's in your blood, in your family tree?
yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Some
Yeah.
of us, I am personally, no, that's not my thing. I have gotten a taste of the Hollywood lifestyle,
Yeah.
and I had decided, I'm gonna have to back out for a second and
Yeah.
reevaluate what's going on.
I'm a Pittsburgher. I like family and food
Oh,
and
yeah.
just,
I love food way too much to be to be considered. I don't know, whatever a 10 in Hollywood is. I love food.
I love food. I do too. And I think there's so many things you can't find in Los Angeles.
Really?
People have no idea. Like you couldn't eat pizza. The pizza was awful. There's
Really?
not one place you could get a good
Oh,
pizza. One place called La Monica's, which was actually like a New York pizzeria, which was somewhere near UCLA, which was good, but not Pittsburgh pizza.
not
But it was okay. That was it. Everything else was just awful.
Really?
Awful.
That sucks. Oh, that's
Yeah,
terrible.
and no pierogies. Nobody knew what a
Oh,
pierogi
God.
even was.
Yeah,
Hoagie,
I
nothing.
didn't know what a pierogi was until I moved here, and it even like a couple years, like for the longest time, because I'm mostly vegetarian, so I don't eat meat. And I just assumed there was like pork or something involved in it, so I just left it alone. And then like 3 years after, I finally asked someone, or they're like, "Oh, it's potatoes and cheese." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, it's like the best
Potatoes
vegetarian
and
food.
cheese. I will eat cheese and potato in any form. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
it's the best.
And I am in love with pierogies.
I
They're
can
my
make
friends.
pierogies like 40 ways. I can
Oh.
even make like dessert pierogies.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can do anything with a pierogi.
Oh my god,
Oh, it's amazing.
sounds
It's an amazing food. It's great.
it's the wonder food.
It is the wonder food. I grew up vegetarian, and so we ate a lot of pierogies growing up. A lot. of
Yeah, I'm pretty
pierogies.
sure my mom would have loved pierogies, like had we known about them in
Yeah.
Ohio. But
It's so funny too because it's not even far away.
no, it's just like literally like it's an hour to cross the Ohio border.
Yeah.
like, if that. But yeah, and like I had never heard anything about it.
That's so funny.
But so I know in high school or when you were 15, you started Red Tape Productions.
Yes.
What's-
So when I was young, I went to a lot of schools for high school. I was just like not fitting in anywhere. And I met a lot of young people that went to different schools. And at the time there was a lot going on, in high school. I mean, what happened in high school? I mean, September 11th happened in high school.
Oh my
President
God, you
Bush
were
happened in high
you
school.
were in high school when September 11th happened.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't realize I was that much older than you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've entered my 30s this year for the first time, and it's
Okay,
strange.
well, you're in your 30s, so I can continue to hang out with you.
Yes, I am no longer a 20-something, but it was super strange. It was strange as a young person at that time because there was so much happening, and my parents are very involved in everything political. They like to know what's going on. They're extraordinarily well read. I mean, these were conversations that my family was having all the time around
Wow.
the table. It was just constantly the world. It's
Yeah.
this. Did you hear about this today? And it was very and not on a local level so much, but it was just very we were very entrenched in the trials and tribulations of the world
Yeah.
forever, my entire life,
Yeah.
and there was so much apathy and misunderstanding, and I went from I lived in Wilkinsburg growing up. I went to St. James school for grade school, which is in Wilkinsburg, but it was a great mixed private school. It was cool. I really liked it. And then I went to Oakland Catholic, and it was awful. It was just the worst, you know. I just had nothing in common with anybody. I made a couple of friends, you know, and it was just not a good experience. And I wanted out so badly, and I told my mom, I was just like, I hate it there. I didn't get back to her in time about what I wanted to do and ended up at Wilkinsburg High School.
Yeah.
So it was like, and I remember they gave me a civics book, and I was like, this is the same book I used when I was in like 6th grade.
Oh,
Like,
man.
I've used this book before.
Oh my goodness.
And
In high school.
yeah.
Wow.
And that's when I always knew the inequity that was happening in the city, across the world, in the United States, but just particularly in Pittsburgh. And I always knew. My parents, growing up with like white parents as a non-white person, you know, it's a conversation you're always having. So you always know this, but to actually see it and live it, the food. I mean, I was just like, who eats this? What is this? I don't even know what this is. I don't even think it was bread. I don't even know. I mean, it was just terrible, and it felt like prison. It was the first time in my life I had to walk through metal detectors. I mean, it was just like a really strange experience, and I felt so much for those young people that, and I was like, how could they ever, like, what, you know?
Yeah, this
is awful.
This was their life.
Yeah, and these are people that I lived near me, and that were my friends, some of them, and it was just such a slap in the face of like, hey, wake up, this is real. And so I was sharing that with some other friends at the time. A lot of my friends had gone to Kappa or Alderdice mostly. A couple of them at Shenley, which is no longer here, but they had gone to those schools, and they were just very bright and grew up in very similar families in terms of them talking about things in the
Right.
world and such. And we really wanted to make a difference. We didn't know what that meant. We just really wanted to educate people, young people, And we really wanted, even though we were way too young to vote, we really wanted to have the conversation about that. And we didn't feel like the world was becoming very representative of who we are and what we were thinking. And we're about to be those people. So we launched a lot of campaigns, and we decided to do it in a really fun ways. We threw a lot of parties.
Yeah.
We got a lot of young people registered to vote in the city of Pittsburgh. We did, we threw parties called like Refuse and Resist. And we would do all of these things with like, what is it? Food Not Bombs and Books for Prisoners and
Oh, wow.
different organizations. And it was kind of like you could come, and most of the time it was free, if not all of the time. But it was kind of like, but you have to come and learn and engage with some of these organizations who were doing super cool stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of like the rule.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. And it changed my life. It made me feel, it was hip hop is really what it was. I mean, that was our life. That was what brought us together. That's what we had in common. That's what I had in common. My two partners, one, Darby Kagan Shields, he's still the primary artist for Red Tape, which is now Red Tape Design.
Oh, okay.
And
This is still headquartered in Pittsburgh?
it's headquartered in New York City now.
Oh, excellent.
And Michael Tanzer, who's this super like hyper awesome Jewish kid from Squirrel Hill. And so these were, we were all super different from each other, but we loved music. Michael Tanzer used to sell like punk mixtapes or something out of his backpack, and we were just doing weird, cool, random things, and doing something like, we just felt very empowered. I think we were just very lucky in the way that we had, I'm trying to learn not to use the word lucky. We were very
Blessed?
I don't know. Something like that. I'll explain why lucky later. But to feel, our parents were very supportive of whatever we wanted. Fortunate, yes. Fortunate, that's a good word. Our parents were very empowering and helped us to really just be unafraid to do the things that we wanted to do, even though we were afraid.
That makes it makes a big difference to have like that home court advantage. Just the fact that you have like your family behind you, rooting for you and supporting you and what you do, and like telling you, this isn't, you're not crazy. Like, yes, you can do this. You're not too young, and this is I completely support.
And that
you.
was the biggest thing, was the age. And I think on some level there were people who were like, "Oh, isn't that cute?" What they're doing, but there was a whole nother layer of people who were just really impressed, and we wanted all young people to feel like that.
Right.
I mean, that was what we were aiming for, and we knew that young people were always if not the most important sort of force behind any sort of human rights work. And so that's how we saw ourselves. Since we've changed, we've gone to college, we've traveled, we've done things, and now we are now Red Tape Design. And in the process of Darby is an artist, and he is an absolutely incredible artist. I mean, mind-blowingly talented. Both of his parents are, as well. His mother is a photographer. His father is a landscape painter. And he would design these mixtape covers for all kinds of young artists coming up. Mac Miller being one of them, who's now much more famous.
Right.
Wiz Khalifa, Boaz, so many people, and so many other people who oh gosh, if I even remember, we were so young, and and that caught on. People were like, "Oh, wow!" It kind of like changed the whole game of mixtapes and being able to get your music out there.
Right.
And people were also starting to start doing their own music videos, and YouTube. It was like, now we actually have these things and these
There's
tools.
a platform, that we can go ahead and we don't have to pay somebody X amount of dollars to just do it ourselves and put it up ourselves.
And we did, and I think when we see some of these artists that have come out of the city now, I mean, that's really what we're watching, is like, this is what happens when you're self-empowered. You do it yourself,
Right.
and you come together and find the tools within your own sort of tool chest of friends and talent, and so Red Tape turned into Red Tape Design, which is redtapedesign.com, and we have an incredible list of clients now. Alicia Keys is one of our clients now. So there's so many, Mod Sun, there's just so many incredible people involved in the process now. So
That's
it's
awesome.
great. But I kind of separated because I I just still want to change the world.
Yeah.
So
Yes, you're also very heavily involved in a lot of basic like world changing events or a lot of political and civic
I try to
matters.
be.
And
I try to be. I try not to feel guilty either because I'm learning not to feel that
because
anymore.
guilty because you can't do as much as you want to.
Yeah. Do as much as I mean, little things. Like sometimes I'm just like, I am so tired. I just can't,
Sometimes you
you
get
know.
tired of fighting. Sometimes
It's tiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to be on all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And I think when I was growing up, I was on all the time and everybody expected me to be on all the time. And then in my late 20s, I was just exhausted. And some
Oh
would
yeah.
argue that I'm still on all the time. But for me, I feel much more tired and I need to take more time to be more thoughtful
Yeah.
also.
But it's also the fact that I mean we are still basically as a generation as a culture we're still fighting the same fight
Yeah.
that we've been fighting for years and upon years. So of course
Hmm.
we're going to be tired because it's like how many times can we argue the same point and how many it's just
It's exhausting. New
yeah.
ways to argue what's and then people and then it's like should you even be arguing?
Right.
Because, and people especially as, women of color too, it's like everybody's telling you to just calm down, or
That's
be
my biggest
quiet
thing. Yeah, that's
or
my
step
biggest
back
because the
or
minute you do, then you're the angry black woman, or you're just she's just whatever. It's just you got that double a woman of color, and it's just like you've got two strikes against you automatically in most case in the world because everyone is expecting you to behave one way, and when you don't behave that way, they don't know what to do. It fucks them up,
Yeah.
and then it's your fault,
Right.
and you have a problem. So
Yep. And I see it all the time. I've seen it in every aspect of my life, in everything that I've ever done. Yeah, these expectations that are placed on you. And I never fit into that. And it does. It angers people. They are very uncomfortable and very fearful of and they don't know how to react, and that's intimidating. But then you become intimidating, and there's just all,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden there's just all of these things, and it's very frustrating, and then you get the whole thing where it's like, well, if you would just argue differently. If how can you get these people to listen to you if you're not? And I'm like, maybe that's not what I'm trying to do.
right,
Like,
it's like especially if you're passionate
I'm
about
speaking
what's
my truth. They don't have to listen to
Exactly.
me. I'm not here to teach. And I think like when you're younger, that's kind of what you're taught is the way, people, it's your responsibility to help, people understand. And I think that's true to a certain extent, but there are also times and places for that. But when I'm out having a good time and you want to say some ridiculous stuff,
yeah.
I'm not, you don't, I'm not here to
It's not the
please you.
yeah, it's not going to be a
or make you
classroom
comfortable.
situation.
No, and people will get very infuriated at that, and I have friends I'm sure that have distanced themselves from me. I'm sure at some point in my life because of those kinds of situations, and that's fine with me. I mean, this is
well,
my
then you know that you didn't need them in your life to begin with.
right, and then I think that it's the most important thing to me as I get older and older is that I realize that narrative is and speaking your own truth and not letting other people's ideas of who you are or they think you are or who you should be or how you should act or how you should react, it's irrelevant because it's so easy to look at somebody and say, why don't you just,
Yeah.
but when it's like that, this is my life. This is not a joke.
Right.
This is like literally the lives of people I care about and myself, and I don't need to hush, and
Exactly.
I just don't.
Yeah. No.
I'm not. I don't need to be quiet,
No.
and that's something that we're totally taught and expected to do as women, all women, every woman. And then on top of it, as black people and brown people, it's like a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And Asian people,
Yeah.
it's
There's
just
just a
shh,
yeah.
be-
Exactly.
it
This
just-
sort of because compliance. that we're
right,
just supposed to
compliance,
be-
exactly.
Just accept the way that it is. Be quiet. Keep your head down.
Yep.
Do what you're supposed to be doing, and it's
Yeah.
just. Okay, I
It's
can only
ridiculous.
really go so far until someone just explodes like anybody. It's just
Yeah, and
you
we
get-
see it. We're
Yeah,
all exploding in our own little
exactly.
ways, and that's what happens. It's if we give people a space to love themselves and we value who they are, and we stop trying to create these hierarchy systems of oppression, and I'm this, and therefore I have this power, or I have this different. I was telling my two friends last night that they should give themselves their own titles. And they were kind of like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I was like, it's so important, because when you have a job, you're more than your work. And it's like, they're like, oh, you're a project manager. You're a project coordinator. You're, volunteer coordinator, whatever it is. It's meaningless titles. I'm like, if you could call yourself anything, what would it be? What is your thing? And I noticed that when a lot of my friends who do a really incredible work and are incredible problem solvers, they all do this. My friend Lainey is the, what does she call herself? The solution samurai.
I love it.
And then my significant other, Pavel, he calls himself the artistic neoteric. I call myself the dynamo, There's all of these things. And it's like, if you had that opportunity to name yourself, it's so powerful. Of a thing to do.
That's why I've taken over the Rugged Angel. Has been my.
You have to do it.
And it just kind of, for me, that has, because I fall into so many other different things. There's so many different things that I can do, or want to do, and outside of my job, that's the best way that I know to describe it. Now, someone gave me that name in college, but I kept it, liked it, stuck with me.
And, you chose it, and it's like, whether it's your an actual title or something you want to call yourself, or actually changing your name, whatever it is, like the power of being able to choose that for ourselves, is huge.
Yeah.
Because we're always everything is just always placed onto us. Everything.
Right. No, we start off in this world with somebody else giving us
everything.
Yes, giving you basically making the decision. Yes, you are going to be existing now. This is your name from now on. You'll be going to this school. You'll be going and doing this. So
there's not a space for many, and I think that's been my experience and learning, is that it's okay to be many things, and and you're different all the time. I'm not always on, it's. We're like everything from our personality traits. I mean, everything is just like, oh, they're like this,
Yeah.
And it's just exhausting to live up to.
Yeah. I don't like it when people just assume, to be put in a box, for one thing. I've never really, that never really sat well with me, for people to expect me to behave or be one thing. And there were a lot of things, like, growing up that and I don't want to like really just use the term rebel or rebel against, but like in high school and college, I would purposely do things against the grain, like that people would not expect me to do. And, sometimes there were things that I, didn't like, sometimes it was to a fault, things that you don't really like to do, but you did it anyway, just to prove somebody wrong that, yes, I can do this, I will do this, whatever. But, you're right. There's not a space for many, and people just always, just something as simple as just like the forms. You're filling out forms for something. What is your occupation? When people ask me, what do you do for a living? Or when I'm asked that question, I just have this anxiety, because I have no idea.
I do too.
I can't sum it up in one sentence. It's like a very long description of, well, I do this for, my 9 to 5, but I also love to do this. And then I have hustle about this. And then, so it's.
People don't like it. Like, I know when I was doing that, when I had, I do a lot of things, and people couldn't really understand what it was. And I actually came from the mindset of, like, that's good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to.
No, I was raised to believe that. That's the way. My mother was a hustler. Like, my mother always was an entrepreneur, and she taught us. She raised my sister and I to be that way, to not just go ahead and just be okay and comfortable with just that one job for the next 50 years of your life. If that's not what you want to do, if there are other passions and creative things you want to do them. Right.
It can be many. And I have a friend of mine who says to me, I was doing this one work, because I am like a serial entrepreneur, and she's like, I don't understand. And then I told her this other project that I was working on, and she's like, oh, I like that, because I can now tell people what it is that I understand that. And it was all out of love, but at the same time, I was very frustrated, because I was like, we don't need to explain, and it was interesting, because somebody else called me out the other day. I had like a big sort of party at my house, like I don't know.
A kiki?
It was like a Friendsgiving type thing, but not as cheesy. But it was kind of, it was just a ton of people who had really, just always shown up in my life in one place. And I unconsciously did something that somebody pointed out later, because I guess there was an article floating around on Facebook and they tagged me in it and they were like, Liana does this. And I was like, oh. And I was really happy that I did it. And apparently what it was instead of introducing people when, people that you care about as, she's a teacher, ninth grade English or something, and they do this, I mean, introducing people as what they mean to you.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that I did that.
Interesting.
And until it was pointed out to me, and I thought, oh yeah,
that's pretty great.
And that's awesome, and that's how it should be. And it's not. You don't need. Like, why do you need me to be this specific thing that you can explain away?
In the words of Tyler Durden, you are not your job.
You are not your job, and you are and you are we are so many things, and just really learning to embrace that there are so many pieces. And talents and there's nothing wrong with me for wanting to explore all of those things and not just one of those things. And I don't know if you experience this at all, but I often experience this. People will then think I'm like hypocritical. Like I grew up vegetarian, for example. I believe in being vegetarian. Sure. I don't believe in hurting, traumatizing animals. And however, I'm severely anemic. Crave all kind of weird things.
Oh, wow.
My iron pills don't work, everything. And so I eat meat on occasion. I just do.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was something I remember when I was really struggling with it because I was doing it. It was almost like I was in the closet, like, eating a bird. Like nobody can know, because I was, because it was who I was for so long. It was just like this source of, it was just so messed up, The feeling was just like very hard. And I was going through it, and I remember I went to a party, a friend of mine, who also happens to be a chef. So obviously I also just want to eat everything that's there because it's all amazing. And I'm eating meat. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I wasn't feeling great that day. I was just like, I got here, I'm going to enjoy myself. And somebody decides that they're going to call me out and on Facebook and says that I'm like a big hypocrite.
Wow.
Because I say that I care about animals, this is that, and then I ate meat, and then that I'm like, but and I was like so infuriated because I was like, first of all, how dare you? These are all my personal decisions, and I can, and it's like you can stand for something and still be unsure,
right?
Like that's okay.
Yeah. I don't.
And it's for me, and it's like it's my own decisions, and to say that now I'm like this big hypocrite in life, in everything I do because I'm like doing this thing, it's infuriating. But that tends to be.
That was really disrespectful.
I think it was very disrespectful.
For one, to put it on a public forum like that.
Yeah.
And two, if you have that feeling, fine, that's your opinion, but talk to you about it on one-on-one and just be an adult. And not...
very many people are not, and especially white males. I think that who this happened to be. I think that there's this, in my experience, it's funny because they're always attacking you, like you think you know everything, and it's like that's so funny you say that because the only people I've ever met in my life that truly believe and very rarely budge are white men. They very rarely. I mean, there's just no argument. And they're the first people to shut you down. Right. And the first people to say, call you the angry black person without calling you that. Because
this is the way it's always been.
Use words that are oppressive and different. And when you try to explain it, they don't get it. And they think that these things are okay. It was funny, too, because I was so infuriated. I was like on Facebook a couple of days ago, and somebody made a comment about... I guess they were playing around on Tinder, which isn't my thing because I have like this fantastic, great relationship, and I'm not really into online.
Which is why I'm completely happy that I am married.
I'm like, thank
for
God.
one of the many reasons. That's one of the many reasons why I'm.
Dating today, I can't even imagine like how tough it is. It's just so tough. I can't imagine. That's not true. I mean, I can imagine, and there was a post about like how, I wonder why these women, something about like women with dogs and like why women try to like dogs more or something than cats or something weird. I don't know. And it was basically like a bunch of men speculating on why women and it was like the reasons were ridiculous. Like, is it because they think it makes them more rugged? Or more outdoorsy? Or they're just making up stuff. And so I decided to just chime in as a woman dog owner. shut down. As soon as I said, well, I'm a woman who has a dog,
Hello,
and this is
hi.
why I have it. That's all I said. I'm answering your question from one perspective.
Women exist, and you can talk to us. You can ask us questions directly.
Not really, because then I immediately got a comment that it literally just shushed me. It was like, that's not really what we're talking about, or something. And I was like, this is exactly what you're talking about. Like, I mean, I was, again, infuriated. And it's something that the people don't even recognize that they're doing. And it's so microaggressive and hurtful. And it's like, how do you not see this? What you just did.
Right.
And, it's so...
What you're doing is basically...
ugly.
Poo-pooing anybody else and their opinions. Oh, no.
I'm like, I'm the first comment of a woman that owns a dog that's telling you a truth.
Right.
But there's no place in me for the conversation for me here. There's nothing. Okay, that's cool. Like,
no, yeah. You weren't playing the game properly. Like, you weren't playing into the whole, we've got these ridiculous fantasies and notions, and this is a whole...
And you're messing it up for us.
Right. Wouldn't this be funny if this were... No, it's, yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And that's the way it is, and that's why I kind of keep my distance. But it's quite painful when it happens too, especially when you realize that it's people that you know or you think are a certain way, and they're totally lost.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, like, Facebook is always, the blessing and the curse kind of thing.
It is.
There are a lot of things that I refuse to comment on Facebook, like a lot of times with different people with opinions, or a lot of things that I won't post. I really try to keep my Facebook just purely like entertainment kind of thing, and I don't want it to be personal at all, because I got into a Facebook fight, or I got into a fight on Facebook, are words that I never want to utter. And it's just...
Oh, man.
And to me, that would piss me off more than the actual disagreement that I was having. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, because I mean, there's, yes, we're all entitled to our opinions, but I would much rather sit and talk to somebody about what's going on, as opposed to, keeping it, typing it out for the world, and having other people chime in that have no idea what the hell you're talking about, or where it's coming from.
There's a difference between truth and opinion, people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, well, that's your opinion. No, it's not my opinion. I own a dog. I'm a woman. This is true. I'm coming at you from a woman of color's perspective, and my experience is truth. It's not my opinion.
Right.
And that's something that's infuriating, and I also think it's something that's very threatening subconsciously a lot of the times for white people, is because they can't necessarily speak on it, but on some of these topics,
right? And
it's a kind of a way to to feel more powerful, is to then just like kind of to put you on the same plane. Is like, well, these are our opinions, right? And it's like, no. Right. Like, I'm not speaking on opinion. When I talk about race, it's not an opinion.
This is the truth. This
is
my
life. Truth, my life, my experience.
This is what I know.
You have an opinion, because that is not something that you experience, and so you're getting your information completely secondhand, which is okay too. Right. But you need to just admit that that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And not, try to attack me or make me feel different. It is my truth, and I'm going to own it, and if you don't want to deal with it, then yeah, I'm not interested. I have no fucks to give these days. None. Very little. I have a well-curated group of people in my life, people that I know and I think about and I care about to a certain extent. I keep at arm's length, but I mean, there's no place for that. We have to elevate each other, and if we're not doing that work, get out of here.
That's the beauty of one of the beauties of getting older is you start to drop off. Everything becomes a little more clear. Yeah, which I have dropped off a few friends here and there, knowing that they're not really here for me. They're not making my life better. In fact, they are creating more drama, unnecessarily so. And you come to terms with that. You realize there's no space in your life for that. You get to a point where you are working, doing what you want to do. You are living where you want to live. You are you have married or have coupled up with whomever you want to be with. You are doing what you want to do, and then you learn to separate things that do not help that in any way whatsoever.
You have to. And you have to survive.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's like
everybody
it's great.
gets it at different ages, and I know I had friends that were like that when I was younger, and I probably didn't understand it. And I'm very open, and I'm always happy to let people in, but it needs to be mutual. Right. A mutual respect and understanding. And that's it. And that's what I've cultivated somehow. And it's working out quite nicely. And Yeah, I mean, there's enough stuff on their in just life,
Right.
family, parents, sicknesses, cars getting stuck in ditches, all kinds of things, and we've gotta let all of that other mate. It's all stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not. None of this is real.
Or even just like keeping like if you've had a friend in your life for X amount of years and then you romanticize
Yes.
about the time and what, and I'm sure, I've been the experience where yes, they were great friends at that point in time in your life, but now that you're both in different places and you need to move on, and you just
You have to.
It doesn't have to be anything negative. It doesn't have to be, a bad friend breakup, but sometimes you just got to move on.
Yeah, and I have those people in my life, and that's fine. And I still care about them, and I know they still care about me. But we don't talk every day.
Right. And that's fine.
And that's fine.
So so let's talk about S Consulting Group.
Yeah. So this last couple of years, I hate working for people. I just hate it. And the reason that I hate it, I haven't always hated it, and there have been jobs that I've had that I loved, but not very many.
Right.
In fact, maybe only like one, which was like a startup, Starman Design Group, which is now like a massive, huge, incredible company, StarmanUSA.com, design group. They're absolutely incredible. I loved working there. It was the first place that somebody told me to just decide what my title would be. And that was kind of like life-changing for me.
Excellent.
It seemed so silly, but it really opened up so many things. And I don't like hierarchies. I feel like everybody has something really beautiful and positive to bring to the world. And it looks different. And are there people that need to learn? Yes. But everybody's in that process in different places. So just because you're the head of something, some organization, and somebody else is like some other kind of coordinator position or something, doesn't mean, that there's not still incredible things that can be pulled out of both places.
Right.
And I understand there needs to be pay grades and different things. And I mean, I get all of this, but it doesn't matter to me. It's not something that I want to be, that I work well under.
Right.
And it stifles me, and it gives me like lots of anxiety and fear and performance anxiety. And it's just awful. It's just awful. I make bad decisions. I'm not my best self in those environments. And I've learned that. And so and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to do my own things.
Yeah.
And probably because I always liked to do my own things, that's probably why, but and that's fine. And so I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love to do stuff. And the main things that I like to talk about, I like to talk a lot about intersectionality and race and all kinds of really heavy things and liberation and love and experiences. And I really value really candid connections with people and ideas. And so, I mean, we started a consulting group. I started with a local artist named Luke Mon, and then Justin Strong, who most people know here in Pittsburgh as the owner of Shadow Lounge in Ava, which is...
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, because that place was life-changing for me. I mean, I started going, when they first opened, it was like a little sort of coffee shop, bohemian style thing.
Right.
And I was young. And I was like, I just wanted to hang out there. And I was around all these people that were creative and smart and different than me. It's the only place like that in this whole city.
It was such a wonderful hub of just creativity. And beautiful
everybody
people
was
in
so
general.
different. Anybody could go in there and feel comfortable. And it just doesn't exist anymore. And so the people exist, and when we get together, it's still a beautiful thing, but it doesn't always happen.
It's so much different. Like now it's like you could go to, before you could go to Shadow Lounge at any given point in time and you know that you'll run into somebody that you know, that you love, that you wanted to talk to, or but now it's like,
It's totally different.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And those places, those spaces are so necessary. Many different spaces are very necessary, but it's a beautiful thing. And so we were also doing work together sporadically forever. We've always kind of done random things together. And through that, we've learned a lot about, we really want to challenge the systems, right?
Okay.
whether it be, foundations, organizations, corporations, it doesn't matter. We really want to be able to challenge these places and spaces and individuals to be more engaged and proactive and thoughtful about the way that they treat each other,
Okay.
the way they fund things,
Mhm.
who they fund, understand complex conversations on like intersectionality and different things. We really just want to give some. We want to put some pressure on
Hmm.
the city to make this place better.
Okay.
And it's so hard, and it involves so many things, and it's been a real experience, to try to think about, well, what does this mean, and how do we carry these things out? And and really what it is ultimately, it's kind of like when we think of cultural intelligence and things like that, historically, it's really just been like, well, to make money in China, you have to learn that they don't want to shake hands, for example, and
Right.
you gotta bow or something. It's like always been this like, well, what are their practices and how can you use that to your benefit to make money?
Right.
But we want to take it to like a whole nother level, of conversation and really challenge, past affirmative action, past diversity and inclusion. What's next? What's the next step past that from a business standpoint that people can take to really change the world and the space that we live in? But so that's been like my big thing that I've been working on for the last couple of years, and we're going to be launching everything very soon. I think probably in the next couple of weeks. And then I'm also going to be doing some other stuff in the next couple of weeks.
And what is that big announcement? I know
It's a huge announcement.
I know that you
It's a big announcement.
came in all excited and bubbly.
I've been flustered the last few days because it's just been so crazy good, and I'm not used to it. I'm not used to things being like, I've had a lot of good experiences. I've done a lot of cool things, but when you feel like when something is the right thing, which is rare, it's such a beautiful feeling. And so
are you ready to talk
I'm
about it?
ready
Do
to
you wanna
talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I've been struggling recently. A lot of people have been pointing out to me that I'm always working in teams. And so they're like, well, what are you doing? What is your thing? Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, whatever, I don't know. And there are definitely things that I want to talk about and that I care about, but I've never been able to like really, I think, see how that could actually like make money and support me.
Right.
And that's really the real thing here,
Yeah.
right? Like ultimately we all need to survive and still try to find a way to not hate everything that we're doing on a daily basis. I mean, and we all have at some point in our lives, and everybody probably has to at some point in their lives, but I'm over that. I don't want to do that anymore. And so I started an organization called, it's not an organization, it's a company called Adopting Identity. Mm-hmm. And really, we seek to do a lot of things, but it's kind of, there's three parts to it, basically. So knowing that I'm adopted and and my significant other is Chinese American and biracial. And it's like everybody has somebody in their family like this, and we have these experiences often where there's just like these uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable with your family, you're treated differently, just tons of microaggressions, and people say really awful stuff, and it can be growing up like different in that way is very hard, and there isn't really a space to have that conversation. Definitely not in Pittsburgh, and definitely not really in the country. I mean, there are people who have podcasts or blogs and want to talk about it, but it's not
unified like in one spot.
And it's kind of like it's really important to have this sort of these narratives that are happening, but also like direction. Okay, so like if you don't know, yes, you should read these narratives, but also like what do you do? How do you get to learn about intersectionality? How do you understand that you adopted a Chinese baby, but what happens in Black America is just, you need to know this? I mean, how do you explain these things to people? How do you have these conversations with your grandma who loves their, newly found biracial Black child,
Right.
but is racist, but says, oh, I love my baby now, and it's really changing the way I'm thinking about things, and that's great. But how do you really take that to the next level?
Right.
And so these are things that I think about and I struggle with a lot. And I've gone through emotionally, so much suffering in my life in terms of what these things mean and who I am and where I'm supposed to fit. And so I called this, adopting identity, and there's a title and a subtitle, and it's the exploration of lies, luck, and legitimacy. And then the subtitle is adopting courage and abandoning fear on the road to self-adoration.
Interesting.
And really what we're seeking to do is three things. There's three pieces to it, kind of. There is, and obviously it's me, but we would love to eventually get tons of money, which will probably be plugged on this podcast in a little while, in a couple of weeks, when everything is launched. But we seek to do three things. And a lot of this was born out of, I've never been back to Brazil.
Okay.
And it's been like, my mother has been very ill since I was pretty much in 6th grade. And we didn't have, because of that, we didn't have a ton of money, and we just, never went back. And it's been just kind of this shadow is hanging over my head forever. It just there. It just kind of follows me around everywhere. And although I also believe very deeply that having certain experiences, I don't believe we should expect that anything's going to change. And I don't necessarily believe in closure either. I mean, I think that you create your own, I don't believe if really we should, if this, then this, if I knew this, if I just knew, if I met my birth mother, or if I went to this space, then everything would be better. I don't believe that. I mean, I think that we have to get past that before we can even have those experiences. You know, we don't need to know, right? We have everything that we need already. And those things are just kind of, they're helpful and important in so many ways, but not in the ways we usually think they're going to be.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so it kind of started out as a need to want to go to Brazil,
Right.
Mostly because I was also just very tired of people telling me about myself and who I was and how they love, I should just really do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's I haven't thought about that, I never thought about that. I'm glad you got to do that. Whatever. It was just, it's so strange, but I want to know what it smells like and what the food tastes like and what people look like. And
do you know anything about your birth?
No,
parents?
I never have. And that's, I think, that's part of the conversation as well, is a lot of people of color, especially transnational adoptees, it's a little different sometimes in foster care, but when, they don't have any of these connections.
Right.
There isn't, you're probably, a lot of times on some sort of terrible black market on top. There's terrible, terrible things that are happening in the world that people don't want to acknowledge. And we don't have those kinds of luxuries a lot of times. And it gets a little sticky to do that as well, because everybody has rights.
Right.
Everybody, moms, adopted children, foster. And so that's what I mean. It's things are nice to know, but there's very thin lines here. So those are not the conversations I'm really seeking to have. I think that what we have three things that we want to do, and the third one will lead right into what I was just talking about. The first thing is really getting this kind of information out into the broader public, which would be schools, conferences, that kind of thing. The second piece is more personal. I really want to start to serve people directly. I really want to start to share my experiences and the stories that I've heard and learned from others with families who really want to understand, how can I best be there for my kid, niece, nephew, whoever it is. Right. Sisters even who have, there's a lot of families now that are blended in that way. There's bio children and adopted children or foster care children, and that creates married,
stepchildren,
and it creates a different dynamic. So race is really what most of this is about.
Right.
So because we make it too big, it's too big, but we really seek to serve people who are specifically adopted, particularly those of people of color, and we're on their side. We're really coming from it from our perspective, which is never heard. Everything online everything is so like, we'll just throw them in therapy for the rest of their lives. They'll be, that's it. It's like you get them here and that's it. And if you're lucky enough, not lucky again, fortunate enough to to be adopted or brought into a family by people who have done this kind of work,
right?
Great,
right?
But that does not happen that often, And I was thinking too, there was that lesbian couple a while ago in the news, you may remember, who like got artificially inseminated, and they had their baby ended up being black, and they freaked out.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked a lot of this too. I'm like, it made me so angry, because I'm like, and then it didn't make me as angry as the fact that the comments were like, well, just love the baby, and it's like, well, I hate to break it to you, but love is so much more than what you think it is. There's sacrifice involved, and that sacrifice means learning different languages and knowing what intersectionality is,
or knowing what to do when your black baby comes home because they're being teased at school. You don't, as a white, there are a lot of white parents who don't wouldn't know what to do. Their daughter has kinky hair.
Right.
She comes home, the kids are being just as simple as them even knowing how to take care of the kinky hair.
And it's not really their. I mean, historically there wasn't anything for this. I'm part of one of the first generations here of international adoptees. There wasn't any of this, but now there is this. I'm doing this. We're doing this. We're going to do this, and everybody now has a place to go to figure out. How do we have these conversations and explore? And I want to seek to catalog these experiences. Yeah. So the big piece that is coming up, that's really the big scary thing, is what I'm calling it's Adopting Identity's Space and Place Project. And what we're going to be doing there is, number one, I'm going to be doing a huge crowdfunding campaign for me to go back to Brazil with my entire family and a filmmaker. That's the goal. Yeah. And I wasn't thinking about taking my nephew. My sister has a baby boy. Well, he's not a baby. He's my baby, but he's not a baby. He's 7. Oh, geez. He'll be 7 in February.
You guys are real close.
He'll be 7. He'll be 7. I'm like, whoa, I'm so confused, because, his birthday's coming up. But somebody said to me yesterday, of course you should take him. And I was like, I didn't even think about it. But it's so important, because he's going through a lot. He read a story in school. He didn't read it, but I think a teacher read it to him or something a while ago about these baby birds who lost their mom. Oh. And but they were found and taken care of and loved. And it was supposed to be this beautiful sort of adoption story, about baby birds for little baby kids. And he just started crying. He couldn't stop crying. He was so angry. And when we were like, what's wrong? And he just couldn't get over the fact that the babies lost their mother. Didn't matter that they were happy now. Didn't matter that they had somewhere to be. He just couldn't get over it. And, he also asked my grandma the other day, like, am I black? But these are things that kids are going through, and they're 6 years old. It's like, this is the world we live in now, and we need to be prepared.
Is he biracial?
He is. Well, my sister, she's Brazilian, and his father is African American. And Liam is just, he's like my complexion, and he's got like sort of like really light blondie, sort of like brown, like brown curly hair, and he's just super cute. But he's black, Yeah. But it was funny, because my mom had a really great thing that she said to him. Her explanation was like, you can be whatever you want to be, but this is how people might see you. And this is who you are. This is like what your mother is and what your father is. But you can also make up your own mind. Think about it. You got a long time. You can think about it. You don't have to decide.
Right. You don't have to fill out any paperwork.
Yeah.
Just yet.
Yeah. You don't have to know. And I thought it was so beautiful, but it really is so important. So I really want to, and I also am going to be helping people. I want to be able to have that experience. I feel like that's the one experience I haven't yet been able to have. Yeah. And it's called the Space and Place Project because, again, it's not really about like finding, birth parents or something like that, even though that is important to some people, but that's not really what we're trying to do. We want to be able to help those people that may want to take those directions, and give them the resources that they might need. But we're really interested in like what
helping
displacement,
them find their identity.
Yeah, what is that displace? Like, what does that do? And there's something called the original death, which is this idea that I learned a lot about it from my friend Kelly Mays, who's also adopted. But she, the original death is this idea that when you're a baby, it's not an idea, it's pretty much true. It's true. It's psychologically, they call it many things. It's post-traumatic stress, all these different things, but it's known also as the original death. And it's this idea that, yeah, you literally die when you're taken away from your mother at a young age. Yeah. Your body thinks that that's what's happening.
Well, because that life...
Yeah, it's gone.
So supply for you that's done.
Yeah,
and then you.
And so that creates all kind of really terrible, scary things, right? And you've created all these stories that you tell yourself to protect yourself the rest of your life, and those same stories are the stories that other people try to push on you. And getting through that and realizing that actually, what are the positives that come out of that? That you're like extraordinarily empathetic and thoughtful and fearless. You know, where we're not told to see things in that way. We're just like, you have borderline personality disorder or something. You know, it's just like so intense. And so that's something that we really want to do, and we really want to take those experiences, and we're going to be building a new website with some of the crowdfunding campaign money as well. And the website is going to be a place where people can share narratives, and we can have and offer all of these resources, and that includes speakers, people who we can actually deploy places, just really creating a space, because there is no space that's from our mouths. It's not academic. It's our experience. The people who I have involved and engaged, the filmmaker that I am working with is adopted also.
Wow.
There's all of these different sort of ways that we want it to be ours. We're the experts. Now we're old enough to be able to have these conversations, and we want to be liberated from all of these labels and things that have just basically created a lot of self-hatred. Yeah. And these ideas that like we're just lucky, because we're not lucky. The universe has worked in such a way, but we've made our own decisions, and we have control over our own lives now, and we can control who's in our spaces and who we are and who we become. And so that's what we want to do. We want to encourage that sort of self-adoration and self-respect and love, and encourage family members to be able to support those people in that. And then ultimately that spills over to the rest of the world. Yeah. And everybody can just become better and more empathetic, thoughtful, and intelligent people. Right. And then everybody wins.
Well, that's such a great concept and such a great thing, because Dan and I have been talking about adopting for like a couple years now.
Oh.
And
see? Everybody.
Yes, exactly. And
everybody is connected in some way.
Right. And just recently I had like gone on Amazon and I'm like looking for books to kind of like help prepare myself, or help us prepare for something, because we haven't, we're still in the research stage of it, but and I'm just like looking for something, some sort of narrative, something like what you're explaining, basically, to like kind of prepare me for what I need to know. Because for the longest time, when you're young and you have the whole world ahead of you, like, oh, I don't have a child by 25. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
And then you're 35.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, but it just whatever. I kind of got, and I don't know. It's like the best example, the best story that I have for it. For the longest time, I thought, in my early years, I thought that I would never be able to adopt a child, because I had a fear that I would not be able to love a child as much as a child that I
Well, you're not alone in that.
Right.
It's an assumption and a story that
exactly.
is circulated often, unfortunately.
Yeah. But then, like 5 years ago, I got a dog. And the dog, like,
he's not your biological
dog. Exactly, right. Like he got sick.
But you love him.
Yeah, he got sick, and then we had to take him to the doctor. The vet. He had to stay overnight at the vet. I was a wreck. I was in tears, and that's when I realized, if I can love this furry little creature this much, just when I'm in tears, when he has to stay in the vet overnight, then I know that I can open my heart for a child. Yep. So, yeah,
if anything, you're closer. I think I feel very close to my parents because we went through something so big. Right. And I think it creates, everybody has the capacity to love anybody.
Exactly.
As much as they can.
Exactly.
But that's exactly why we want to do that kind of work. So when the crowdfunding campaign comes, she'll talk about it on Ragged Angel.
Exactly.
And, and spread the words.
Yes.
And
I am an advocate.
And I guarantee you that if we can raise this money, not only will we be able to do that within the year, we will have a space for you to do all of this kind of work, everything you could ever need.
That's great.
And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to I want these kids to be adopted too. I want people to go out into the world and do these things, and it's so important to me in so many ways,
I can't wait to see
I have it all written out. I mean, it's been a crazy day, and my brain hasn't been quite on par, but I guarantee you the stuff that's planned is absolutely incredible and will really change people's lives, and has so much potential to help parents, future parents, and especially the actual young people that are coming and are already here to see all of the to see all the potential that they have for themselves.
That's super
that has
exciting.
been limited through years and years of being told
what they
stories
can
and creating stories in your own head because of the original death and all kinds of other things. And we got to let all that go.
Yeah. It's time to shake it off.
I'm committed to making this happen. It's my entire life. It's my birthright. It's the most important thing to me to see this happen. So,
all right, awesome. So we are going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with your top 5.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Hey, Pittsburgh. I just want to remind you about the Second Shift Crafters event happening this week on January 31st. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and this will be a perfect spot to get your sweetie an original gift from some of the talented artists and crafters that will be in attendance. It will be held at St. Maria Goretti near West Penn Hospital at 4712 Liberty in Bloomfield. For more information, you can visit Second Shift Crafters Facebook page, or you can visit them at secondshiftcrafters.com. Go out and show your support to some artists who are doing it themselves. Now back to the show. All right, so we are back, and we are going to get into we're getting into the top 5. And I picked top 5 for Liana because at some point in time she confessed to me that she was obsessed with Gwen Stefani for quite some time. And I, too, have quite the appreciation for Miss Gwen. But recently, I did write a blog. It was my kind of breakup letter with Gwen.
Oh, that's so funny because I have a breakup letter, too.
Because
I didn't write a breakup letter.
Right, but yeah, I listened to her new stuff, and I was like, yeah, I think
it's really just no doubt in being young, and I'm just a girl.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
and
really what it is.
I can't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. But, I will keep what we shared in the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s. So, but yeah, so we have compiled our lists of our top 5 Gwen Stefani / No Doubt songs.
Yes.
So, Liana.
Okay, so mine are, of course, Just a Girl, because I performed that in my, so I did talent shows when I was young, which is so funny because I would never do that now. But I did Just a Girl in, I think it was like 7th grade or something
wonderful.
like that for the school. So that was like big, right? That was like the biggest, most important, I think, Gwen Stefani song. And I love Holla Back. That's a great one. It just makes me think of I kind of think about it when guys are driving by and you're just like, ain't no holla back, get out of me, get out of here, they hate you, get away from me. Rich Girl, with Eve, yeah, because who doesn't love Eve, and who doesn't want to be rich, and Hey Baby, I like Hey Baby, and Don't Let Me Down.
Oh. All right. Wow. I thought that we might have some duplicates, but
we don't.
We don't. We have one. Same. We have one that's the same. And
also I love Bubble Pop Electric. Bubble Pop Electric.
That's such a fun little song.
Was on the back of my list as a honorable mention.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, okay. So mine was Just a Girl, because that was when I took notice of Gwen, and it was probably, I guess, 94 that album came out 20 years ago.
I think it was 92.
No,
was it?
It's this year is its 20-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I just graduated from high school, but
That's
I
crazy.
think it was like 95 when I heard the song. But
wow.
I saw the video and it's like, who is this girl?
Yeah.
What is this? What is happening? I was like, I want to be her. This is awesome.
She just did whatever she wanted.
I know.
So young. That's what made her cool. I mean, she stole Calypso, but
right.
which was part of my breakup with her. Was realizing that I had standards now, and that was part of it. Was I just wasn't really into the reappropriation of music, but anymore. But at the time, it was. She's young. She was doing her thing, and it was beautiful for a young girl.
Exactly. So and Just a Girl, I still will belt it out when it's on, when it pops up on my iPod. I love that song so much. What You Waiting For? That's like my
That's a good
motivational.
one.
That's my, it's like, get up off your butt and do some stuff.
Yes.
Like, do it. You got to get this done. So that's always going to be on my iPod playlist. Simple Kind of Life.
That was on. I had it written down, but it didn't make my list.
Because it's like, it's one of those, like, it speaks to me because, and I'm sure it works for you the same way, is that, sometimes you wish that you weren't as ambitious as you were, like that you would just
Often.
just like, can I just be satisfied with just going into the office 9 to 5, Monday through Friday?
No.
And then, right, no, it's not going to happen. But,
Never. We have to accept it now.
Exactly. Yeah, I've accepted it, but every once in a while it creeps in. But it's like, no, I'm not. That's not who I am. That's not who I'm going to be, and I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Cool was another really good one because that one was kind of like that kind of spoke to me with an ex-boyfriend of mine that we are still like really good friends to this day, and it's just kind of like when she says like, you call me Mrs. whatever now, and it's like, oh yeah, I kind of I totally see that. So that one is going, and New is my jam.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, see, I haven't listened to Gwen Stefani. I mean, I do on occasion, but I did want to take the opportunity, though, to plug a couple of things because I think that these are very important albums right now. I don't know if you've heard the new Mary J., the London Sessions.
No.
Life-altering
Really?
music. Completely different, out of her element.
Really?
Very housey.
The London
Absolutely
Sessions.
incredible. She worked with Sam Smith.
Oh, really?
Went to London and did all of this sort
Wow.
of like just because I am a huge fan of Mary J. Also, I used to I had this staircase in my house that went, like up and around, and you could see from the living room, people. It was a grand entrance sort of staircase, and I used to perform "I'm Going Down" and dress up and curl my hair, and it was crazy. And suspenders and palazzo pants or something, I don't know. And so I love Mary J. And I think this album is literally life altering.
Do we have any idea how old Mary J is? Because I swear she is
have
like, she
no
never
idea.
ages. She looks about the same that she
Should
did
we
when she
Google
first
it?
came out.
I have no idea
Because
how
I think
old
when
she is.
when she first came out, I assumed she was in her 30s at that point.
Yeah,
And then,
I thought so too.
But now I have no idea. Like, this woman, she just looks amazing.
She does. She's got to be in her 50s.
She's got to be.
She's age 44.
Really?
Same age as Jennifer Lopez, who may be 45 now.
Really?
Yes, that's interesting.
J-Lo, that's another one. I just watched her her documentary / concert movie, and like, her music, it's all right. I'm not really a big J-Lo music fan, but I'm a fan.
I'm a fan of her.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a fan of Jennifer
I loved
Lopez
her when
and what
she
she's
was
done.
in Living Color, and she was a
Yes.
fly girl, and that's why I love her. I love her also because she just, again, she's Latina. She does whatever she wants. I just love women who just do whatever they want.
Exactly.
And she does whatever she wants.
I love it.
And there's a new woman that I'm super into. There's a guy named Kwesi Cam, who everybody should listen to. He's incredible. And he's this black sort of, I guess I would call it like this, I guess it's folk. He's incredible. And he's young and he's great. And he actually recommended that I listen to this woman. Her name is Caroline Smith. Love her. She is so hardcore feminist and just
Really?
makes you feel so proud and happy to be a woman. Every single song.
I'm gonna have
her
to look her
music
up.
videos are incredible. And the two songs that I love the most are Magazine and Half About Being a Woman. And she is incredible. But I also am a child of hip hop, and I believe hip hop
Obviously.
saved my life. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love Kendrick Lamar right now. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
his new work, and J.
love
Cole
I.
also. He's fantastic. He's just, they're brilliant, and I really like, where Kendrick Lamar is taking things. J. Cole is making me cry, and I just love it. I love where they're taking hip hop right now.
Oh yeah,
I love
it's getting me back to a place of where I originally, like, of what real hip hop is to me anyway. I just don't. Such a period of time where it was just all rap to me and not really hip hop. But yeah, Kendrick Lamar is definitely bringing it back home for me, and I appreciate him so much for that.
Yeah, I love it. I loved them before, but I was like kind of like I was into it, but I wasn't like obsessed. Now I have crossed over and am obsessed with both of them. I just love everything about them. They're so fantastic. So I
Yeah.
had to throw those in because
You're a Kendrick Lamartian.
Yeah, right. I am. I am. I just thought, it's so funny because, when you said Gwen Stefani, I was like, yeah, wow, like I really did love her. And then, and then having to think about, wow, like, but I don't really listen to her anymore. And I hadn't really thought about that. And so when you said that to me, it was actually perfect. And then I was like, you know what? I have to also say, what am I listening to now?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
and that sounds, I'm definitely going to look those people up and figure out.
Incredible stuff, like on repeat.
Because I'm always on the lookout for new music.
I am way more into Beyonce than I've ever been. I never really liked Beyonce. I was always like, I knew all the songs and stuff, but I wasn't really like
me too
obsessed with Beyonce like everybody was obsessed with her. And I really love 7-Eleven.
Me too.
I just love, she's turning into finally just doing whatever she wants.
Right.
So now I'm starting to like her because before it was just like so perfect. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you could just tell she was so perfectly primped and packaged and trained. Now she's just like, ah!
Yes.
And that's the kind of stuff that I really like. I like women who just do their thing, have a message, have fun, and they're saying things that you can relate to.
Exactly.
And
because like I think
into it now.
That B-Day, whatever Irreplaceable was, I think that was the last Beyonce album that I had purchased or that I was even really listening to. And then she released all this other stuff, and I didn't pay much attention to any of it at all. And then I saw that 7-Eleven video, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love with this song.
Yeah.
What are you doing now?
And then I like,
and I
started listening to more stuff.
Yeah, that Partition is great.
Yep.
Flawless, I love it. And with like the Nicki Minaj remix, like I'm so for it. I'm all about it.
I am too. So yeah, women, I mean, ultimately it is women that just do whatever they want to.
Yes.
And when they start to do whatever they want to, that's when I start
Rugged
to
Angels.
get into it.
Yes. That's what we are all about.
This is the perfect Rugged Angel listening list with the exception of the two gentlemen.
Right. But I'm sure they'd be down with it.
I'm sure they'd be down with it for sure. For sure.
So where can we find you on like Twitter or like any of what you're working on, Facebook and all that stuff?
So I'm actually going to be launching these websites very soon. So if you check them out a little earlier and they're not there yet, check 2 weeks later and it'll be there. But we have S Group, which is the website for that is traditionalcool.com. And we're going to be doing some super awesome stuff. And it's the handle on Twitter is traditionalcool. Okay. And which is also our email if anybody would like to get in touch with us at Gmail. Or it's, that's probably, it's like, or you could just find me at Liana at traditionalcool.com.
Okay.
And it's in terms of email. But then our adopting identity work, or my adopting identity work, that's so weird to say. My adopting identity work is going to be adoptingidentity.com. And we are on Twitter at adoptidentity. And there's some Facebook groups, but Twitter's really all you really need, I guess, these days. And so I'll probably get an Instagram going at some point. But you can find me at on Facebook. I love Facebook still, and it's just my name, Liana Maneese, Liana Maneese. I'm the only one in the world. It will be the only thing that pops up.
Friend or follower?
Yeah. Friend me, follow me, and my Twitter handle and also my Instagram. Are the same things. They're L Boogie PGH.
I like it. I like that a lot. L Boogie.
Yeah. So find me, and if you're interested, find me in whatever way you can, and I'll be plugging all of these things like crazy over the next few weeks.
Looking for narratives about your...
And that's the other thing we need. So if anybody has any stories, and it doesn't have to be necessarily from an adopted perspective, or it could be your sibling, or a mother or father, or anybody that has a direct connection to these kinds of blended families. That's who we want to hear for. Write me a story. Send it to me.
Great. Well, thank you once again for taking a time out. This was fun.
Thank you.
I really much enjoyed being here.
Yes.
And you can follow me at _Rugged Angel on Twitter. And you can like Rugged Angel Productions on Facebook. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us for this.
Thank you.
This has been a Rugged Angel production.